think it's a powerless job. And I read Professor Yanke's piece earlier in the week, and I think, yeah, it's absolutely spot on in terms of the pressure that is at bear on, the vice president, now flag bearer of the ruling NPP, to make a choice as to who would partner him in the election. And you've seen a lot of demands that have come through from various pressure groups within the party and other, members regarding who they would prefer to partner the man. I think from where I sit and the people that I've spoken to and all, it looks as though the choice has already been made, right? And it's just a question of when that will be communicated to Ghanaians. I've seen the NIB poll as well, and I'll come to some of the issues around that in terms of the timing, and I align with some of the points that Sami has actually made. Should we or should our security agencies be wasting their time, conducting such polls when there are bigger issues of terrorism to fight? But if you actually look at the people that they polled, so these are the party grassroots, and you asked an extremely important question earlier, which is that, the desires of the party, in this case here, you're getting almost 8 in 10 of the people they polled wanting the energy minister, Matthew Pokupempe, as the running mate, versus the desire of Ghanaians. How do you actually square that? So, for example, you look at the report, and it talks about they want charisma, they want someone who has popularity amongst the party members or the grassroots, and can also drive to an extent, party unity. I did not see also too much about the extent to which the candidate would also kind of complement, right, the ruling or the running mate, and what other things that they bring to the table. Because I think it's quite important, because you would see that if you actually poll Ghanaians as a sample group in terms of what they actually want from a running mate, versus if you poll from amongst the party itself, so this is a tough sample, you may get that the differences and the aspirations are quite different in that extent. And that leads me to actually quite an important point, which is that strategically, right, from the point of the MPP, is it then the case that, well, going into this election, we have to focus on our core grassroots, the people that we can get them to turn up, to vote, especially given the issues that have happened with the economy, the exchange rate, and the cost of living and all of that. So if you assume, right, of argument's sake, that you want to tap into your voter base and therefore not get a lot of people being apathetic, as we saw in 2008, then it may make sense with the choice that ultimately they would decide to actually go right with. If, on the other hand, we run or make an assumption again that, well, you actually need the middle class voters, you need them to be up and running and then to vote for you, then again, that is where you then will see some differences between the desires or the aspirations of the party people versus the broader aspirations of Ghanaians. So for me, I don't envy the vice president at all. It's a difficult choice that he's got to make. I think they need to give him room to make that choice. I would be surprised if that decision has already not been made, and then we'd see, that being communicated.
But in politics, that they say one day can make a lot of difference in politics. And Professor Kwesi Yankah asked this question: are we shifting the goalpost for a Tenny flag bearer? Have the rules changed? No. It's rather the times. Tribalism has returned in another clock. The great party has elders who should step in and boldly put the house in order. Huge gains made in the past year may dissipate in thin air should the choice of running mate be foisted on Mahmoud Bawumia. The message should be simple. The party will respect their flag bearer and not denigrate his person or preference. Mahmoud should not be reminded of his status as a tenny and made an exception to prevailing rules. Having been duly elected as flag bearer, he has the right to even say, quote, I have made a decision. It's one or even none of the above. The open campaign for running mate, public name dropping, blackmailing, and veiled display of tribalism must stop.
Yeah, no, Prof is right. I think I would characterize it a little bit, actually saying it's regionalism, right? And there's a lot of academic literature to point to the fact that regional coalitions of factors play an extremely important role in Ghanaian elections. And I think also for the MPP, it's almost become an obvious choice as the fact that the running mate is going to come from the Ashanti region, which is where they get the biggest chunk of their votes from, if you look at the regional split or regional kind of vote share. So again, it goes back to the point I made earlier. Do you play to your strength, which is where you're getting the most of your votes coming from, but also given that there have been issues with the economy and all of that, so you actually want the people that, you know, aspire to your party ideals, but that also translates into actual votes and results on the day to come up for you. I think we've been in this space for a while, and it's been communicated, at least within, you know, the media space, that the running mate choice is going to come from the Ashanti region and nowhere else. So if you go with that, then it becomes, you know, a question of who best comes from that region that allows them, you know, to get the vote.
All right,
but then
very
yes,
quickly,
you do get some of the sentiment coming through in some of these, you know, veiled threats, so to say, that if you don't choose my particular person, then, you know, we won't vote for you and things like that. That is something that we must all condemn.
All right. Now, in some 30 seconds, has the NPP delayed in naming their running mate?
I think to an extent you could argue that there's been a bit of a delay.
And how will that affect them, if any at all?
I don't think that it will make a material difference to the outcome of the election, because it's really a question of, you know, who is the running mate, and then the issues that we're dealing with, the economic issues that we're dealing with, play a much bigger, you know, role.
Right. And from where you sit, should they be more influenced by what sections of Ghanaians think rather than party executive think is the person to be the running mate?
Oh, I think so, yes. Definitely the latter, right? Because it's Ghanaians that are going to vote at the end of the day. The party people are a subset of Ghanaians. So it would have been more interesting for me if, for example, this NIB poll had actually polled, call it, Ghanaians, ordinary Ghanaians, and what their thoughts are on who is the party. But quickly before we go, I think we also have to make the point about this whole NIB business. You know, I think it amounts to abuse of office to an extent, that if the party really wants to conduct poll and even poll its members, there are people, there are organizations out there that can do that for them.
And they have been doing that anyway.
The optics don't look good. I have heard people make argument that, oh, but in the past, similar polls and things have been made. But if you actually look at the mandate of the NIB, and Samir read aspects of the law, vis-a-vis what's actually been done here, I struggle to actually reconcile the two. You know, what is the national security interest in all of this in terms of this polling?
All right.